We need to examine our epidemics in the context of our EMF exposures. What does that mean? That means that the CDC, tracking these epidemics, we need to start measuring how much radiation are people being exposed to. And before we roll out 5G, and this means there are 4 kinds of electromagnetic fields that we know are harmful to human health. So radio frequency radiation, magnetic fields, dirty electricity, and electric fields, okay? Our exposure, any given person, and all humans are affected by EMFs. Our given exposure has nothing to do with the research that my colleagues are going to cite, with the National Toxicology Program. That is an assessment of the risk of 1 cell phone in the near field, okay? What is our exposure in a day? It's not 1 cell phone. It's cell phones, it's multiple wireless networks, it's smart meters, it's cell towers. It's this sandwich, and it all adds up. And this is a serious problem for occupational health, public safety, and personal safety. And I feel that it's irresponsible to be even talking about the Internet of Things and rolling out a new untested technology when we're not even measuring what are our current exposures from the current networks.
For those of you who know me, I'm a techie at heart, so this is not an issue of getting access to technology for people. I'm a certified Microsoft small business specialist. I worked on space station designing the cabling system for the airlock module, where I was responsible for EMI, EMC analysis, which is electromagnetic interference, electromagnetic compatibility. This is not a foreign subject to me. But I do want to address some of the concerns that I've heard in some of the testimony today and some of the questioning, because there seems to be a couple false Easter eggs being put out there right now. I want to make sure we dispel that right off the gate. Everybody in this room needs to understand the FCC is staffed by former members of the telecommunications industry. They are effectively indemnified against adverse health impact lawsuits when the acceptable limits are higher than the limits actually shown to show harmful health effects. And I just want to dwell a little bit on some of those harmful health effects, if I could. Number one, we need to understand that we're all concerned about environmental impacts around PFAS and around lead in the water, all that kind of stuff. The health impacts associated with wireless radiation, when you actually read the laundry list of adverse health impacts, they're much more significant than even PFAS and what you see with the with lead in the water system. We're talking about carcinogenic effects due to tumors. We're talking about issues with DNA replication, which can lead to adverse issues in regard that part of the mechanism for leading to the carcinogenic effects, but also dealing with things, there's been ties to autism and other impacts as well on it, that I just encourage people to take a look at. This is, and that's why everybody's groaning, because when we're talking about 3-year-olds dealing with this, because the studies have also shown that the people most susceptible to these adverse health impacts are the youngest among us, because their blood-brain barrier has not been fully developed. That's why people are concerned about that. I know there's a convenience issue. I'm addicted to this stuff myself, right? This is an issue where I love the convenience of having wireless access. But I also know that in Article 4, Section 51 of our Michigan Constitution, our primary concern is supposed to be the health of our citizens. That is supposed to be the primary concern.
Recent studies of the 2G and 3G technology that have very powerful evidence of tumors and cancers caused in rats when they are exposed to the radio frequencies of the 2 and 3G technology. Now, the 5G technology simply has never been studied.
There is actually quite a bit of research on this. It's just all classified because the millimeter waves have mostly been used for military applications for their non-lethal weapons program. It would be lovely to get some of that research declassified now when we need to take a look at it. since we're about to morph that into civilian applications. So such a network, as Senator Blumenthal was mentioning, requires a very dense infrastructure with literally hundreds of thousands of new small cell antennas mounted on buildings and utility poles along every single street and potentially every 3 to 5 houses apart. That's what people don't realize. This really is the densification of the infrastructure.
This is what it says. And like most of you, I found messages like this annoying, but the reality is Telstra is telling you to use a hands-free device to keep a mobile phone away from the head and body to reduce mobile phone exposure. So that's a good thing. But on the other hand, I think that we all need to do better to give people information so that you have knowledge about how to reduce exposure. And I'm going to explain to you why we need to reduce exposure. Now, the electromagnetic spectrum, this is information from ARPANSA, actually goes all the way from the invisible to the visible, ionizing radiation, gamma rays, X-rays over here, and light here. This is from ARPANSA. You will see here they say FM radio, microwave oven, radiant heat. Of course, microwave oven actually happens to be of the same frequency as the cell phone, the mobile phone. The mobile phone and the microwave oven use a very similar frequency. The difference between them is power. The power of the microwave oven is 1,000 watts. And of course, that's power that can heat up a cup of water in maybe 60 seconds. The microwave oven, the mobile phone, the cordless phone, the Wi-Fi monitor, the baby monitor, they all use the same frequency. They differ in power. They also differ because mobile phones and Wi-Fi devices emit pulsed microwave radiation. It's the pulse, not the power, that appears to be biologically most important. The pulse that is erratic and irregular, like for thousands of minutes a month, for dozens of hours a week, over a lifetime, that irregular pulsed signal may be much more biologically important. And in fact, the continuous wave signals have a lot of therapeutic effects as are being applied in medicine today. This visualization from my colleague at the University of Athens shows you the variation in frequency, in amplitude, in pulse. All of these variables influence the properties a signal have and how it can affect a biological system. This is just to show you what happens in a 4-second mobile phone call. This is power density indicated here. And of course, a phone is on standby, it's not doing too much, but 900 times a minute, it's looking for a signal. It says to the tower, where are you? Here I am. Where are you? Here I am. It's smart. That's how it's supposed to do. Now, when the phone rings, the worst time for you to put a phone right next to your head is when you answer it and say hello, because it's smart and it goes to max power. They're programmed to do that. Max power. Now, it's going to go to max power. You're going to listen, and then it will go up and down and up and down. And again, it's that variation. It's the delta. It's the cumulative integrative dose under the curve over a lifetime of exposure that looks to be biologically important.